Yes, it is recording now. This is the Old Testament, Genesis, 2nd chapter. Thus heaven and earth were completed with all their array. On the 7th day, God had completed the work he had been doing. He rested on the 7th day after all the work he had been doing. God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on that day he rested after all his work of creating. Such was the story of heaven and earth as they were created, paradise and the test of free will. At the time when Yahweh God made earth and heaven, there was as yet no wild bush on the earth, nor had any wild plant yet sprung up. For Yahweh God had not sent rain on the earth, nor was there any man to till the soil. Instead, water flowed out of the ground and watered all the surface of the soil. Yahweh God shaped man from the soil of the ground and blew the breath of life into his nostrils, and man became a living being. Yahweh God planted a garden in Eden, which is in the east, and there he put the man he had fashioned from the soil. Yahweh God caused to grow every kind of tree, enticing to look at and good to eat, with the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. A river flowed from Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided to make 4 streams. The first is named the Pishon, and this winds all through all the land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of this country is pure bdellium, and cornelian stone are found there. The second river is named the Gihon, and this winds all through the land of Cush. The third river is named the Tigris, and this flows to the east of Ashur. The fourth river is the Euphrates. Yahweh God took the man and settled him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and take care of it. Then Yahweh God gave the man this command: You are free to eat of all the trees in the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you are not to eat. For the day you eat of that, you are doomed to die. Yahweh God said, It is not right that the man should be alone. I shall make him a helper. So from the soil Yahweh God fashioned all the wild animals and all the birds of heaven. These he brought to the man to see what he would call them. Each one was to bear the name the man would give it. The man gave names to all the cattle, all the birds of heaven, and all the wild animals. But no helper suitable for the man was found for him. Then Yahweh God made the man fall into a deep sleep, and while he was asleep he took one of his ribs and closed the flesh up again forthwith. Yahweh God fashioned the rib he had taken from the man into a woman, and brought her to the man, and the man said, This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She is to be called woman, because she was taken from man. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and becomes attached to his wife, and they become one flesh. Now both of them were naked, the man and his wife, but they felt no shame before each other. The word of the Lord. Psalm 2 from the book of Psalms. Why this uproar among the nations, this impotent muttering of the peoples? Kings of the earth take up position, princes plot together against Yahweh and his anointed. Now let us break their fetters, now let us throw off their bonds. He who is enthroned in the heavens laughs, Yahweh makes a mockery of them. Then in his anger rebukes them, in his rage he strikes them with terror. I myself have anointed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. I will proclaim the decree of Yahweh. He said to me, You are my son, today have I fathered you. Ask of me, and I shall give you the nations as your birthright, the whole wide world as your possession. With an iron scepter you will break them, shatter them like so many pots. So now, you kings, come to your senses, you earthly rulers, learn your lesson. In fear, be submissive to Yahweh. With trembling kiss his feet, lest he be angry and your way come to nothing. His fury flares up in a moment. How blessed are all who take refuge in him. The word of the Lord. The Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 2. The visit of the Magi. After Jesus had been born at Bethlehem in Judea, during the reign of King Herod, suddenly some wise men came to Jerusalem from the east, asking, Where is the infant King of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose and have come to do him homage. When King Herod heard this, he was perturbed, and so was the whole of Jerusalem. He called together all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, and inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They told him, At Bethlehem in Judea, for this is what the prophet wrote, And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, you are by no means the least among the leaders of Judah, for from you will come a leader who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod summoned the wise men to see him privately. He asked them the exact date on which the star had appeared, and sent them on to Bethlehem with the words, Go and find out all about the child, and when you have found him, let me know, so that I too may go and do him homage. Having listened to what the king had to say, they set out, and suddenly the star they had seen rising went forward and halted over the place where the child was. The sight of the star filled them with delight, and going into the house they saw the child with his mother Mary, and falling to their knees, they did him homage. Then opening their treasures, they offered him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. But they were given a warning in a dream, not to go back to Herod and return to their own country by a different way. The flight into Egypt, the massacre of the innocents. After they had left, suddenly the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, Get up, take the child and his mother with you, and escape into Egypt, and stay there until I tell you, because Herod intends to search for the child and do away with him. So Joseph got up, and taking the child and his mother with him, left that night for Egypt, where he stayed until Herod was dead. This was to fulfill what the Lord had spoken through the prophet, I called my son out of Egypt. Herod was furious on realizing that he'd been fooled by the wise men. And in Bethlehem and its surrounding district, he had all the male children killed who were 2 years old or less, reckoning by the date he had been careful to ask the wise men. Then were fulfilled the words spoken through the prophet Jeremiah. A voice is heard in Ramah, lamenting and weeping bitterly. It is Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted, because they are no more. After Herod's death, suddenly the angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother with you, and go back to the land of Israel, for those who wanted to kill the child are dead." So Joseph got up, and taking the child and his mother with him, went back to the land of Israel. But when he learnt that Archelaus had succeeded his father Herod as ruler of Judea, he was afraid to go there, and being warned in a dream, he withdrew to the region of Galilee. There he settled in a town called Nazareth. In this way the words spoken through the prophets were to be fulfilled. He will be called a Nazarene. The Gospel of the Lord.